Next on Worcester News Tonight, Governor Baker signing a bill today reversing archaic abortion laws. Plus, Rutland Police showing off their newest officer and his special set of skills he brings to the department. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. New legislation signed by Governor Charlie Baker will lift the ban on abortions in Massachusetts. The Nasty Woman Act comes as a response to the fear of the historic Roe v. Wade decision being challenged. The bill was introduced by Worcester Democrat Harriet Chandler, who says this is something long overdue. Our Cam Jandro joins us now live with more. Cam?
Anna, these bans haven't been enforced in quite some time, but if for some reason Roe v. Wade was overturned, they would have, but today they were all eliminated.
On Beacon Hill Friday, Governor Charlie Baker signs the Nasty Woman Act, repealing the state's 173-year-old law banning abortion.
It doesn't mean that you have to have an abortion, but it gives the woman the right to make a decision that is best for her and the unborn child.
Also repealed were bans on adultery, as well as restricting contraception to only married women. Executive Director of the YWCA of Central Massachusetts, Linda Cavioli, says it was important to change the laws should Roe v. Wade be appealed or challenged.
It will revert to state laws, and if we have these archaic laws on the books in the state, we'll be governed by those.
However, the legislation wasn't unopposed. The Catholic Action League of Massachusetts describing it as hasty, histrionic, gratuitous, but unsurprising. Senator Harriet Chandler hopes the new law can change the perception of opponents.
I hope they will respect a woman's right to choose and a woman's right to oversee her own body.
For Senator Chandler, the Nasty Woman Act is something she's been attempting to pass for years.
Reproductive rights and women's health was one of the major reasons I got involved in running for the legislature in the first place.
According to Planned Parenthood, more than 70% of Americans support abortions. Cavioli hopes the signing can serve as a precedent for the rest of the country.
I would hope that states and legislators and women's advocates would take a look at their own laws and see what would be at risk for them.
Now, Massachusetts is the first state nationwide to abolish these types of bans. Today, Governor Charlie Baker saying these laws do not represent Massachusetts leaders on this issue. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. After 8 months serving as Senate President, Harriet Chandler passes off the gavel Thursday to Senator Karen Spilka. Chandler took over after Stan Rosenberg resigned the presidency amid allegations of sexual misconduct against his husband Brian Hefner and an ethics committee investigation into whether he had enabled his husband's alleged behavior. In March, Spilka had received enough votes to become the next president. Chandler will be seeking a 10th term in the Senate in November. Tornado cleanup continues in Douglas. Highway Department and emergency management crews were out again today picking up the pieces and say there's days of work left. Our Chandler Walsh joins us now live with more. Chandler?
Anna, the town says the EF1 tornado which ripped through Douglas caused most of its damage to a cluster of streets. Multiple highway crews were out today. Their work will continue. Douglas Highway Department crews went back to work Friday, dealing with the aftermath of a tornado.
We probably got a week's worth of work down there.
Residents and cars can now pass through Maple Street, but crews are removing truckloads of debris.
You see the trees that are broken off. We've got to cut all those trees down, get them to the ground so they're not a hazard to the residents there.
A messier scene than the roads, homes in the area of Maple and Monroe Streets. The town says about 15 properties are affected.
Which right now is the major leftover nemesis of this whole storm.
Yards are still covered with debris and downed trees. The force of the tornado showing in this yard where a large rock uprooted with this oak tree.
It's not something people were expecting. It's cost money.
With the help of Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, the town was able to call in volunteer group Team Rubicon to assist in restoration. The team of first responders and military veterans will clean up private property not covered by insurance and are only called in for significant weather events.
They're here going house to house to assess the damage and see exactly what they can bring to the table for the homeowners. and checking with the homeowners to see if they'd like the help.
Fire Chief Kent Vinson says Team Rubicon will bring the relief residents need.
It's humid. There's a lot of debris. So it's, for a couple of two or three people, it's not an easy job.
Today was Team Rubicon's first day in Douglas. MEMA hopes to have Team Rubicon teams removing debris in the next week. Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
The former Edgemere drive-in property in Shrewsbury has sat vacant for 20 years. This week, the town took a step towards future development. There's a mixed-use project planned to be built on the land with retail and residential units. Assistant Town Manager Kristen Lass says Market Basket is interested in coming to the property, which would include stores and restaurants and up to 250 apartments and townhouses. Earlier this week, town selectmen signed a memorandum of agreement between the landowner and the town.
It's really a gateway from the town of Shrewsbury into the city of Worcester. So we'd really like to see the property redeveloped. It's at an intersection of Lake Street and Route 20, a very prominent intersection, and it's always good to see vibrancy coming up in that area.
Lass says the town is now applying for the MassWorks application with the state to see if they can receive funding for transportation improvements, as well as waiting for the developer to come forward with local and state permitting, which they will review. The Rutland Police Department welcoming its newest member, K9 named Cooney. It's the department's first ever four-legged officer, and he's expected to play an important role. Our Rosalind Flaherty joins us now live with more. Rosalind?
Anna, the department says Cooney will be helpful in finding missing people, and now they won't have to rely on other departments' canines.
It's the Rutland Police, the K9. Come out now. The dog will find and bite you. Last warning.
Rutland Police K9 Cooney searches and locates a suspect during a demonstration.
Show me your hands. Put your hands in the air. Do it now.
This 16-month-old German Shepherd is the newest officer at the department. He just completed training to become a patrol dog with his handler, Officer Matthew Finuccio.
It's pretty intense training. It's every day, day in and day out, many hours before and after.
Cooney is the department's first canine and is certified in area searches, article searches, and locating missing people or suspects. Chief Nick Monaco says they needed a canine because it can be difficult to wait for help from another department.
We have a school in town that's a residential school for kids with behavioral disorders, a lot of kids with autism, and we've done a lot of tracks for missing children, and it's going to be very helpful to have our own dog.
Good boy.
Cooney was named after Rutland police officer Sean Cooney, who tragically passed away in 2012. The program was funded by a $25,000 grant from the Stanton Foundation.
It's paid for the retrofit of a police car, it's paid for a kennel at the officer's house, it's paid for the dog, all the vet bills, everything that goes into it, so not a dime was spent by the town.
Cooney lives with Officer Finuccio, and he says the two have a great relationship. He says Cooney knows when it's time to be a regular dog and when it's time to work.
He actually is, in my opinion, probably the perfect dog because he has that switch, and as soon as you turn it on, he can be what you'd expect a police dog to be, but before then, he's sociable.
Now, Officer Finuccio says the plan is to get Cooney certified in narcotics detection this winter. Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A heads up for anyone driving on the Pike in Boston tonight. The highway is being reduced to 3 lanes total. That's 1 lane going into Boston and 2 lanes going out. It's because tomorrow is demo day in the Comm Ave Bridge construction project. The westbound side of the bridge is being replaced, and transit officials have this advice for drivers.
You need to be coming into the city tomorrow. You need to give yourself a lot of extra time.
By Monday, there'll be 2 lanes in each direction on the Pike. Today, Senator Ed Markey met with former workers of the Necco plant in Revere. Earlier this week, the factory shut down unexpectedly, leaving as many as 230 workers without a job. Round Hill Investments, the company which bought Necco back in May, has sold it to another firm. The plant in Revere has been expected to stay open until November. Today, workers were able to return to pick up their belongings and final paychecks. Necco is the oldest continuously operating confectioner in the country, but is currently in bankruptcy. Worcester Restaurant Week is right around the corner, and this year's new restaurants are making their debut. Beginning Monday, participating restaurants will lower their prices and create a special Restaurant Week menu, offering a 3-course meal for only $25.18. Among the new restaurants participating is Maddie's Cookery and Tap House on Water Street, which just had its grand opening back in June. Owner Adam Hicks named his restaurant after his 2 children, Matthew and Addison. He says business has been great and he's excited to be part of Restaurant Week.
Yes, this is our first experience with Restaurant Week. I think it gives people a good opportunity to come check us out. For $25.18, you can get a 3-course meal. We're very excited to be here in Worcester in the Canal District. There's tons of good stuff going on. There's tons of local business down here, local young entrepreneurs, and it's a very exciting time for Worcester.
Restaurant Week runs through August 11th. For a full list of restaurants participating, you can visit WorcesterRestaurantWeek.com. The Patriots getting back on the field today at Gillette for practice at training camp. It was day 2 of practice for the team in Foxborough. The team still working out at Gillette without pads on. Padded practices begin tomorrow. We could also hear from quarterback Tom Brady at some point this weekend.